Hey PCAMers, this is DW, and I'm probably in the air right now between JFK Airport in New York and Atlanta on my way back from Israel. Actually, no, this morning on Wednesday, I'm probably just getting ready to leave Israel. It's been a fantastic trip, I'm sure, but I'm pre-recording this video, so I don't actually know how it's going to turn out. But I will be there on Friday morning, jet lag, but ready to go at 8 a.m. I wanted to record this video to give you guys a first day take on the syllabus and kind of go through some of the regular things that we do at the beginning of the semester. So I've got the syllabus loaded here. It's also posted on Blackboard, of course. We're using the same book we used in the fall, so that's good. One composition book required for the homework. You could use the one you have left over from the fall if you still have pages in there. Same kind of thing in terms of the homework policy of taking photos of work you put in your own notebook to get credit for one point on the homework. I went ahead and put in the required for the course an internet-enabled device for Kahoot quizzes or Quizlet access in class because again we'll do those things in the lecture. And then I think that's mainly it. You don't need a deck of note cards because we're doing Quizlet for the note cards. And you can certainly buy note cards if you want, but that's not a required thing. My office hours have changed a little bit. I've slipped them back because it's a Tuesday-Thursday class that I have for forensic chemistry. So I just have moved my office hours 30 minutes back from 9:30 to 10:30 each day of the week. But as always, if you can't meet at that time, that's no problem. But make your appointments by email, because if you need me to do something or be somewhere, email is the place to go. Because it stays in my inbox, and that inbox acts as a to-do list for me. If you text me or if you drop a note on my door or catch me in the hall, it's probably not going to make it to my to-do list because I'm getting distracted all the way back to my office, and then when I sit down I won't remember that you asked me to do something. So use my email, williams@shsu.edu, to communicate things that I have to do. Now if you just need a quick answer or something, sure, ask me in the hallway. You know, if you catch me online, you can put a comment on the YouTube, anything like that. If I just need to respond, but if you need me to do something, then put it on my inbox. This is all standard stuff. The course description from the university catalog. Again, we're talking about thermochemistry, phase diagrams, equilibria, kinetics, and statistical mechanics of quantum states, and transferring the quantum view all the way to the macroscopic view of nature. Our idea objectives are to gain factual knowledge and classifications, methods, and trends, and then to put those fundamental principles into action using the theories behind physical chemistry. But those are very broad course objectives. These can be figured into, I guess, what we call the big ideas for the course. So you'll be able to answer these kinds of questions at the end. You'll have a feeling for how the quantum world connects to our macroscopic world. You'll also have great insight into how engines work of different types, combustion engines, Stirling engines, all the different kinds of motors that we use in our everyday life. We will understand the physical properties of nature, depending upon the situation, whether you have solids, liquids, gases, mixtures, real solutions. We'll get into the Hansen solubility parameters and look at how our solvents work to dissolve things. And then throughout the course, as you learned in PChem 1, these types of difficult courses in the labs that are a part of the educational system really drive you into problem solving. And since the world needs problem solvers, you will demonstrate the ability to solve problems using some advanced tools in Excel and also computational chemistry problems. The grading policy has changed a little bit from the fall semester, so let me emphasize this. In the fall semester, I didn't think that the point system worked very well. I had a lot of issues with some students over the points, and so I'm going to go back to having distinct grade categories. So we'll have a homework category, a lab category, an exam category. That's really no different than the fall. But the thing that is different is that we will take the total number of points available in that block, say, let's say like 130 points available in the homework or something like that, and you'll have your points that you obtain, and you'll just divide that by 130. So you'll have an average for your homework, and an average for your lab, and an average for the exam. And then we'll scale those with these weighting factors in table 1. So like if you had forgot a few weeks on the homework and you only obtained 96 points on the homework and there were 130 points available, when you take 96 and divide by 130, that's a 74% average on the homework. And so I think it'll be a little bit more clear for everybody. Okay. Now, then those averages, so then you use these weighting factors. So you take your homework average and multiply by 0.1, your lab average multiplied by 0.2, and your exam average multiplied by 0.7, and add those together. That's your weighted average. And then we'll use these cutoffs traditionally. An A is 90% or greater, B is 80 to 89, etc. So it's more of a traditional way of doing things. I tried the point scale in the fall, the cumulative points, and there were some benefits and there were some drawbacks, and so I'm going back to the average system. Okay, in terms of being ready for class and so on, you guys are great. I've already had experience with you and you with me, and so I don't really think there's any concerns there. Just, I would like for you, even though it's 8 o'clock, to try to get some sleep so that you show up alert and ready and that you ask questions. We're going to have a really small enrollment for PChem 2. It's going to be around 10 people, and so it's going to be a great class because you can really ask questions. We'll have much more discussion because it'll be a smaller crowd. The homework points, typically the same behaviors will get you points towards the total. You should be aiming for 9 points a week. So each week you should summarize the points that you're claiming and then provide the evidence for those things. I'm going to up it a little bit. I'm going to say the Quizlet study set, you need to put in 6 words to get 1 point, because it's really not that hard to just come up with those definitions. And so anyway, six words. It used to be 4, now it's 6. Classic problem example on discussion board, that requires a little bit more work, and so that's still 3 points. And making a substantial comment on one of those problems is worth 1 point. Again, it needs to be a substantial comment or reworking the whole problem with different numbers. But be on the lookout. If you see a mistake on someone's problem, and if you well characterize and explain where the mistake is and the right way to do it, then that's definitely worth 1 point. Make the case to me and it might be worth 3. Okay. Create a Kahoot quiz, same kind of thing as we did last semester. I'm going to have some PChem practice exams. They're not exactly arranged in practice exam format at this point. We'll have to work on that after the course starts. And then upload scanned handwritten homework pages, 1 point per page. Now, again, I put new here. This is just showing that the homework grade will be the ratio of the points you earn to the total homework points available. And so I can get you that number, but what it'll do is available to that point. So if we've been in for 3 weeks, then there's 27 homework points available. And if you have 27 points by that point, then you've got 100 homework average. Okay, the lab work. This is a nice course because it's not a writing enhanced course. So we don't have large writing assignments that are graded and revised and so on. That's why the fall was so difficult, because you had these large writing assignments that we were trying to improve your writing. In the spring, we're just doing PChem and we're doing labs and we're writing up the small sort of discussion questions that you were doing last semester. Same kind of thing in the spring, but without the large writing reports. Okay, so you need to stay the whole time. We're not doing attendance points this spring. It's just that the TA, you need to take advantage of the time the TA is there, and you've blocked that time out of your schedule. I expect you to use it for PChem or for studying. There was some questions last time on unaddressed and unannounced laboratory absences. This would be like if you just miss lab because of some unavoidable circumstance and never talk to the TA and never talk to me. that would be unannounced because they didn't know you were going to be absent, and unaddressed. You never emailed them, you never emailed me, you're just absent without any kind of information. That will lead to a failing grade. If you email the TA and if you email me, then you're addressing the absence. We're giving you input, we're communicating. So this is really just a emphasis that you must communicate if you're going to be absent. The late lab report scheme is still the same as it was in the fall. And then the new lab grade will be the ratio of points you earn divided by the total lab points available. So each lab will have a different amount of points associated with it depending upon how much work it is. And so some labs will be worth a lot of points, other labs will be worth fewer points. But whatever at that point of the semester, however many lab points were on the table, however many you obtained divided by that amount available will be your lab average. And that'll be updated after each exam. The final exam is Monday, May 4th from 8 to 10 a.m. Please don't schedule your travel plans or anything like that. Try to do your best to be there. And then the same missed exam policy. There's going to be, we'll see in the schedule how many exams there are. Now, academic dishonesty, it takes a lifetime to build your reputation and only a few seconds to destroy it. So if you cheat or if you lie about being absent or, any of those kinds of dishonest practices, not only will you get punished if you get caught, but it'll really harm your reputation in my eyes and in the eyes of the TA and your peers if they know anything like that. So you don't want to be known as a dishonest person, as an untrustworthy person. So let's have some high standards. So let's get on to the schedule. So we start out, we're going to connect quantum mechanics to thermodynamics. And so what that means is we're going to pick up with the rotation, translation, and vibrational motion from the fall semester. And we're going to see how, just using statistics, we can get entropy, enthalpy, Gibbs energy, and the equilibrium constant. So we can go from the quantum world all the way up to equilibrium chemistry. Now that's a whole course in itself called Statistical Thermodynamics. But we're going to cover it in 2.5 weeks. Just gloss over the top just to kind of show you how the quantum world connects to the macroscopic world. And then we'll have a test on that. Then we get into more traditional thermodynamics, the first, second, third law of thermodynamics, and cycle problems where you're talking about expansion and compression cycles and how we use gas pressure and expansion and compression to drive our world. I mean, literally. So we'll talk about combustion engines and the Carnot cycle and the Stirling engine, all these different kinds of engines that turn heat into work. After that exam, getting close to spring break here, it'll split this next bit of material. This is where we get into phase behavior. So solids, liquids, gases, all the different kinds of phase transitions, compressibility, thermal expansion, all the different kinds of thermodynamic parameters related to phase transitions and changes in state variables like pressure, temperature, and volume with respect to temperature, or change in energy with respect to temperature or volume. Then we get into mixtures, and we'll talk about the phase diagrams of mixtures. This is where we get into distillation and azeotropic behavior and solubility. After that exam, then we'll get into non-equilibrium thermodynamics, where we have flow, things, so flow through a pipe, heat flow, diffusion, all of these viscosity, all of these different properties that you've heard about. We'll look at the theory behind those, and even electrochemistry and looking at electrical potential. And then that feeds into energy. Our last section will be on all the different sources and sinks and conversions in energy. So we'll talk about nuclear reactions, nuclear transformations that we've used to make energy, look at combustion sources of energy, electrical storage and conversion efficiencies, and then resources and risks to the environment. So that's going to be a fantastic way to end the course. And what's amazing about this course is we start in the at the beginning of the semester with the quantum realm, you know, a single like an electron and a 7 angstrom box. And then by the end of the semester, we're talking about global consumption of energy, where we're dealing with 10 to the 18 joules of energy. So from 10 to the minus 20 joules to 10 to the 18 joules is a huge range that we cover in this course. And so I think it's a really exciting course. A lot of people like PChem 2 better than PChem 1. So with that, we have this graphical syllabus. It kind of goes over everything I've mentioned, but in graphical format. Let's see if I can flip this. Do this a few more times here. Okay, there we are. And so we have these 5 exams, essentially 5 mountaintops that we climb. Each of these little switchbacks is a lecture, and we're going to be covering these different topics. And so when we reach the mountaintop, we'll reflect upon what we can see now that we've climbed this hill, sort of the hill of statistical thermodynamics, and we'll look around and describe the world around us, and we'll have an exam. Same thing with thermodynamic laws and engines, distillation or flow or energy. We have some wonderful sights that we're going to see along this trail of PChem 2. We also are teaching you a work ethic, so daily activity that you'll be working towards. We're going to have lab reports due. Depending on which lab section, I need to look to see. In the past, we had 2 sections, Monday and Wednesday, but I need to see which lab section is going to stand. So either Monday or Wednesday will be your lab reports that are due. And then homework due on Saturday. This is a gift as well to any of you who are taking both forensic chemistry and PChem 2, because that way you won't have your homework due on the same night. Here's our exams and homework and lab and how they figure into your weighted average. So it's a pretty equal footing between the exams, the lab, and the homework. And this is the cutoffs for your weighted average for your letter grades. And I reserve the ability to curve up, but I won't curve down. So, you know, if you guys all do phenomenally and the class average is 85, I'm not going to make that a C, even though by definition average performance is a C. But if you guys do well, I'm not going to curve down. But if for whatever reason I write some really wonky exam questions and they didn't match how I prepared you, or how, you know, we got off track somehow and the average was low and we didn't have any, let's say we didn't have any 90s and above, but we had a couple of 89s and then a big gap, I might make those 2 89s an A. So I reserve the right to curve up, but I promise you I won't curve down. And I think that'll do it. You don't need the Scantrons. That's a holdover from previous semesters, because I'm going to do these exams like I did last time in the fall, where you'll fill in the blank and then you'll do some worked problems. And so I can grade those quick enough by hand. I don't need to use the Scantron. But you may want to get a composition book. All right, if there are any questions, email me at williams@shsu.edu and wish me safe travels. I'll see you on Friday morning.